Today we're going to go through 3 tips that you guys need to know about in order to have success with your back pain rehab program from home. So let's get straight into it. From experience, we see a lot of people going around the internet and different practitioners trying lots of different things. But if they don't follow these 3 tips, then they're really going to struggle to have any lasting success or any short-term success for that matter. So hopefully you guys are going to find this one really, really helpful. It doesn't matter whether you're doing our Back in Shape program or someone else's program, you're going to find this essential to your back pain rehab success. And before we get into it, if you are new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. And if you find this one useful, give it a thumbs up. Let's get straight into tip number 1. The exercises, work, and technique is essential. This is so important. I'm going to put it on the board for you. The technique is so important. Now, just if we take it off back pain and focus on something else, when you were learning to walk, if you fell over when you were 1, 2 years old, that sort of age, you wouldn't say walking is the problem, we'd say your technique is the problem. And a lot of people are looking through different exercises online, trying to find the right ones for their back pain. And maybe this is the first time you've done this. Maybe this is the first time you've done that particular stretch in that way with those nuanced changes. That's why they work, especially if it's our Back in Shape program. That's why we have those nuanced differences. You're not going to get it right the first time, and that's okay. In our case, we've got tons of support through videos that help you break it down so you can do it correctly. And in our Back in Shape Premium, we have even more help to make sure that you can get on. But this technique is so important. It can't be understated. These exercises have worked for literally hundreds, if not thousands of people from our clinical experience and from Back in Shape. So we know the exercises work, whether it's a slip disc, a bulging disc, whether it's degenerative disc disease in the spine or a spondylolisthesis, a post-surgery, all of these different cases, we know the exercises work when the technique is done correctly. So persevere. A little bit of aches and pains when you're learning them is okay. And if you've got any questions, always reach out to someone to get a bit of support. Tip number 2 is really, really important and a really common trap that a lot of people fall into, and that's getting stuck on relief or technique-based exercises for way too long. In our case, this is talking about the phase 1 of Back in Shape. People stay on there for much, much longer than is necessary. Let's get that one up on the board so you don't forget it. This is a really pivotal point, because all too often we've seen patients in the clinic or we've seen people in Back in Shape where they're walking 5 miles a day or 5 kilometers a day or 10,000 steps and they're still doing a phase 1 exercise. Now, phase 1 is your stretches. It's your relief-based exercises. It's maybe some people will do those knee rocks and other sorts of exercises, some of which we don't recommend. But these exercises are not doing a thing for building your strength. Doing a core engagement like one of our phase 1 exercises, that's not doing a thing for your strength. It's not improving. It's teaching you how to do that exercise. But once you've learned how to do it, you've learned how to do it. That's job done. Now, sometimes they are useful going forwards in certain capacities, but you must move on to strengthening. It's the strengthening that gives you that permanent change. It's the strengthening that gives you that permanent improvement. And if you're going through with us in backinshapeprogram.com, then you guys are going to see that phase 2 is where we begin that strengthening process. And in that sort of phase 2 environment, when we're starting strengthening exercises, going back to that point number 1, learning those new exercises again will have its challenges, but you've got the support there to make sure that you do them correctly. And if you're struggling, you can always reach out and ask. But remember, we cannot stress enough, do not stay doing simple stretching or mobilization exercises for the long term, because they're not designed for that. They will not help make your back more robust, more resilient, and ultimately they're not rehabilitating anything. The final tip is really one of the most important, because when it comes to fixing back pain from home, it is that consistency over the period of time that helps. Back pain all too often has been built up over many months or even years or longer of bad practice and just not knowing. So if we don't adhere to tip number 3, then we're going to really, really struggle to get any sort of consistency. And that is follow the program and just the program. Let me get it on here again so you can make a note of this one. And I say follow the program, that is only the program. We've had this in the past where we've had people that are struggling along the way. You speak to them and you say, hey, I'm doing phase 2 every day, but I'm also doing this and I'm also doing that and I'm also doing that and I'm also doing that. And they say, well, how do you know it's not working? Let's remove those things, and sure enough, things start to improve. All too often, you've seen other videos, you've watched other videos that maybe even disagree with some of the stuff that we do in Back in Shape, and that's okay because we do things differently, and that's why what we do works. But we explain to you guys why. So if you're following a back pain program, you're doing it from home, follow just that program. I've used the analogy in previous videos. If you've seen any of our live streams in the past during the initial lockdown that we had over here in the UK, if it's like trying to lose weight. If you're following a diet program that's salad and lunch on a daily basis, salad and meat at lunch, dinner and everything on a daily basis, and you're on that sort of normal program, if you will, but then you're adding in an extra bit of cake from somewhere else, you're not going to lose the weight. And the same thing with Back in Shape and rehab programs in general for your back. If you're doing all of these perfect things, whether it's our phase 1, 2, or 3, or other bits and pieces, or another program, and then you're adding in bits of something else, then it's just not going to work. For example, you might do our towel exercise that we recommend, which is fantastic for unloading the load that's going through your lumbar spine, those lower lumbar joints like L4-5 and L5-S1. But then if you finish that with doing a child pose as part of your yoga routine, you've completely wasted your time and undone all the fundamental principles and fundamental good that towel exercise has done. So I urge you, the pivotal part of any back pain program is follow the program and don't customize it unless you've spoken to a professional or the makers of said program to adjust that program for you. And we do that. We have people in Back in Shape in the premium group where for other reasons they may need to adjust and tweak certain exercises, maybe to compensate for a neck issue. Sometimes that could be in the way of the back progress because certain positions are uncomfortable for the neck problem. So we need to tailor things and tweak things, but always ask the person who's developed the program, the person who's put the hard work in and the experience into that program to develop it, because there are nuanced things that make that program work by the omission of certain things and the avoidance of other things with the inclusion of some. And that makes a massive difference. So final point is stick to the program and only the program. Let's recap it to finish up the video. Number 1, exercises work, but your technique is so important. Get it right and you'll do great. Number 2 is don't get stuck in those what we call phase 1 exercises or relief-based exercises that aren't really building any strength for too long. Move on, because that's where the magic happens. And number 3, follow the program. Don't mix and match from different programs. And if you need any customization, reach out to the creators of your program. And if it's Back in Shape, you guys know exactly where we are, and we can help you make those little tweaks, expert driven rather than doing it yourself, and that way you'll have success. If you found this video helpful, do consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos that we put out. And also remember, if you know someone else is going into lockdown right now that could use this video, consider sharing it with them. Maybe they can learn something that you've picked up too. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you with another video. If you want to learn more about the premium Back in Shape membership, there's going to be a video somewhere underneath here. And if you want to stay up to date or tune in to some of our more recent live streams and the Q&As at the end of those, then that's going to be down here. And remember, you can subscribe to the channel up here and hit the notification bell to make sure you know when we next go live so you can join us for our next live stream and Q&A.